I was 14, almost 15. I was only 2 months away. I came into foster care. The first thing I knew is I didn't want to go back. I knew I had to find a family somewhere else.
Family is very important for me. I love my brother and my sister were my family, and I didn't want to let that go.
The problem was I had 2 younger sisters, and I didn't want to be separated from them in the process.
If I would have gotten separated from them, I would not be happy, and I would not be a very good child.
So at the age of 15 and having 2 siblings, I was kind of at a high risk for not being adopted.
I have never been married. I never had any of my own children, but I wanted a family of my own. And I've always known that I wanted to adopt. When I was a small child, I knew that someday I would adopt other children. I was home sick for a period of time, and I was praying about should I adopt or be a foster parent, and the phone rang, and it was the Department of Social Services, and they had a sibling group that needed a home. And I knew at that instant that these were the children for me. I've always had a heart for families that would have to be broken up because they wouldn't be able to stay together to be adopted together. So that's who I wanted to adopt. I wanted to adopt specifically a sibling group. But because I'd not been married and I didn't have any of my own children, Social Services thought it'd be best if I was a foster parent first, and I was nervous about that. I wasn't too sure that I wanted to have anything to do with teenagers or older children, and especially boys. The idea of trying to raise a boy by myself was pretty intimidating. When Social Services called me, they didn't really know too much about the children and weren't able to give me much information, but I knew that one of them was a boy. But I also knew that these were the children I should have.
Most people weren't willing to take teenagers or families.
It was very confusing, and I didn't know where I was going or who my foster parent was going to be.
Well, I was brought to DSS, and I was stuck in the back room with me, my brother, and sister. And I didn't really know anything that was going on at all. And then my biological family, my grandparents and my Aunt Teresa, who's my mother's sister, they all came, and I was told what was going on. I was going to a foster family and that I would be separated from my biological family. And I didn't cry I held out for a very long time, and at the end I started crying. And my Aunt Teresa and her daughter Becky, which is my cousin, they were over there and they were comforting us with my grandparents. And I remember the words that Aunt Teresa and Becky told me was, "You're one of the strongest kids I know, and you'll get through this."
When the car pulled up to the driveway and they were coming out of the car, I was so nervous. Older children and an older boy, and I didn't know how they were going to act, how they would behave. Would they, tear my house apart? Would they set me on fire? All kinds of horrible thoughts. You didn't know who was coming into your house. But what I try to remember is they didn't know whose house they were going into either.
I was scared. I wanted to know who lived here, what lived here, how many pets. Was there any other children here, any other foster care? How many people had she had? I mean, I wanted to know about the living environment. When
I first met my foster parent, I was very angry. I didn't want to be in foster care. I didn't talk a lot. I just pretty much kept to myself and clung to my brother and my sister.
I didn't really like being departed with my family when I first came here, and I missed them a lot.
I had wonderful training, MAP training, and they really taught me that my job was to see my children reunited with their biological family. And I just said that mantra to myself over and over again, and then one day the mantra had to change. The decision was now, do you want to become these children's adoptive parent? And for me, the day they walked into my house from Social Services, that day they became my children. It wasn't when they were adopted that they became my children. It was the first day they came to me.